Syed Misam, Syed Misam Abbas.
Yes, sir.
So you be the reporter of this week, and you may compile the report of this week.
Okay, sir.
Okay, and then we'll. All right. So today also we have two presenters with us. The first presentation is on telling tales, and are the two presenters ready?
So actually, my partner is not well, so
Yes. Okay. Yes, Anas is informed that he is not well. Okay, so you may continue. Yash, you can start.
good morning, everyone. I am Yash Kushrist, and I am here to present a very interesting article from Harvard Business Review called "Telling Tales," and it is written by Stephen Denning. So, firstly, what is basically storytelling? So, storytelling is basically an interactive art of using words and actions to basically reveal the characters of a story, while at the same time encouraging the imagination of the audience as well. So, while basically we see that we enjoy listening to a good story from a storyteller while we are at work or while we are socializing as well. Also, we see that we like stories that we hear or see and during a good advertisement. So, by all this, Denning wants to put emphasis on this impact of storytelling, especially in the business world. So, what usually happens is that in the business, people get fascinated by the analysis. So, it might get to the human mind, but it hardly affects the human heart. But this is the most important region where it is to go. So, storytelling is one such a way to motivate people, not only to take action, but to do it with some energy as well. So, mostly we see that good business activities are developed startingly using the numbers, but they are mostly approved on the basis of a story that is being quoted. So, such has been the power of narrative. So, Denning wanted people at the World Bank to emphasize on the importance of the knowledge management. So he tries a lots of matter initially by using statistics, analysis, and at sometimes using presentations as well. But he failed. So he tried to convey the same idea using a story. So the story revolves around the health worker in Zambia who who was to a center of disease control to find a cure of malaria. So this was a brief story. So he portrays the story in a beautiful manner so that everyone gets fascinated and appreciates the idea. So it basically portrays that the impact of World Bank that can have if they start investing in the field of knowledge management. So uh, so this has been the example. Now let's. So he first after telling the story uh, to the fellow person at the World Bank, he went on to tell the same story to the senior storyteller named J.J. Pop Pinkerton. He was a senior storyteller, and his response was quite which he did not expect. So his response says that he did not hear the story at all. There was no storytelling in it, no building up of the character, like who was that girl in the Zambia, how was the environment there, how was the conditions there, and his advice was that you need to add more depth to the story. There was no character background in it, according to him. So before going further, let's take a look at two examples. So these two are very renowned examples. The first one is of Nike. So basically, what Nike does Nike with its brand tells a story that everyone who has a body is an athlete, and he need not to be a star on the field to earn that label. So what Nike does is Nike uses a slogan that just do it. So it answers the question of its customers to go out and take action. Next is the case of Tesla, a very renowned company as well. So what it does is it positions its customers as early adopters and tech geeks who are audacious and they take care of the environment as well. So in this way, Tesla also portrays the story that brings the luxury car owner's story on many grounds, including its performance. And this has been the reason or the power of storytelling of Tesla, so that their marketing budget is zero. Now, an important thing is that it is not always that a positive story works. So sometimes we need to inculcate some action or make someone to do something or to learn out from something. So uh, the fact that people learn more from the mistake rather from their success is portrays the need of having portrays the need of negative storytelling. Also, in a workplace, a maximalist storytelling may not work. So this is in reference to the points that were made by J.J. Pinkerton, that was the senior storyteller. So according to him, a story should be of depth and vivid in character. But this wasn't actually the case. This was basically his realization. So that according to him, that if we are going to tell the whole story in a business world, they won't going to get it. Secondly, the while dealing in the business environment, people have very little time, so every second counts while storytelling. So so the people will not be able to internalize all of the facts related to that. Or when we say that in this very case, people had to internalize a very strange idea that was out of their context. So while dealing in a business environment, a maximalist this approach may not work. So minimalist narrative is effective so that people can easily internalize it rather than immerse in the whole story, because that's not our whole purpose. The purpose is to share the important knowledge and make the people to use it in their own world. Next is basically the objectives of the storytelling. So the first one is sparking actions. So basically, a story that describes how successful change was implemented in the past, but at the same time, it allows the users that so that how it might work in the present situation. So an example could be taken from Steve Jobs, and the story could revolve around him, and that how he was able to revolutionize Apple by focusing on the design and coming up with the new products timely. So one can connect with the audience so that they can achieve the similar results too. Next is communicating who you are. So a story provides audience engaging dramas, and it has to be done so that people get to know who you are, where have you come from. This is all done so as to attain the trust of the audience so that you can speak up further. Next is transmitting values. So a story that may feel similar to the audience will prompt discussion, and this is what is being required. So what the value that is being inculcated by your story should be uh, related in some way or other. Next is fostering collaboration. So sorry. So next is fostering collaboration. So it basically portrays a story that movingly recounts a situation that listeners have also experienced, and that prompts to share them their own story about topic. So suppose you are a marketing head of a tech giants, let's say Apple, and you are tell people a story of you using your old phone along with the precious data that you have. So it is all gone. Thereby, you increasing the interaction between the audience and yourself. So once a time will come that people become so much interested in you, and you have all their attention, and then you can ask them to switch to iPhone for such safety concerns. After that, they, after they feel connected to you. So the next is sparking action. So basically, a story that describes how successful change was implemented in the past. Sorry. Next is taming the grapevine. So a story that highlights often through the use of gentle humor, some aspect of humor that reveals it to be untrue or unlikely. So Tesla again is a prime example of it. Uh, they always come up with things like speculations of some Easter eggs So this is basically a technology that is installed in the cars. So with some software updates, which are considered as rumors first, but eventually come out to be true most of the times. So the subtle sense of humor and sarcasm serves its purpose in a good way and storytelling and connecting to the audience. Next is sharing knowledge. So it basically portrays that. So a classic example of it could be when Samsung was criticized for poor design and overheating issues with their flagship phones. So they had to apologize to its customers and users, and it recalled all its products for changes in their hardware design. So this is a perfect example of how mistakes were made, followed by amendments for the same. Next is leading people into the future. So a story that evokes the future you want to create without providing excessive details that will only turn out to be wrong. So again, I want to put an example of a company by Elon Musk, that is SpaceX, which just hinted that people that they will be making reusable rockets. So until now, we do not have any. And look how people went just crazy over this just storyline of reusable rockets. So this brief intro led people into a vision of how reusable rockets will look like and how they are made to connect with the company in a better way. Next is a good storyteller can express different narrative forms, that is non-conventional forms, for different business goals. So if supervisors and executives use storytelling as a way to communicate to the employees, they would respond in a very positive way and would also remember what are their commands in the future as well. So next is there is a place for boring rich stories as well. So this can be quoted by a simple example that while dealing in a business world or while dealing in a team environment, sometimes the thing called common sense or common thing may not be common for everyone. So a boring story has also its place. So in the past, we have seen that stories has also helped leaders to define their personalities. So stories basically act as catalyst for the organization action, as narrative helps in bringing life to things. So this is the case. And leaders using narratives to inculcate a positive corporate values and lives in the heart of the mind of the employees. Next is an enticing but hazy future. So this is basically a conclusion of it. So storytelling is a most powerful and essential tool to the imagination. So, so example of it could be that if you want to make human to venture into unfamiliar terrain, it is so the first thing that you can do is to uh, to let them imagine what it actually looks like. So this can only be done with the power of storytelling. So stories that are so there are some stories that may be called for some reactive rather than proactive measures. So in this story, there is a caselet of the company named IBM, which had so the workers were introduced with a news that the line manager that they had was inefficient and was being paid very much. So once in agitation, they all went to uh, the manager and told them, "Why is your salary so big and are so small?" To which he replied, "If any one of you screw up, you may lose your job. If I screw up, all of you will lose your job." So in this way, it had been neutralizing the its effects, and ultimately it changed the perspective of the workers as well. And thank you. That's all from my side.
All right, thank you, Yash, for the presentation. Let us quickly move on to the second presentation of today. So we'll come back to the content and the performance, the feedback, the small talk trap, the smart trap.
Yeah. So am I audible?
Yes.
Good morning, all of you. Our topic of presentation is the Smart Talk Trap by Jeffrey Pfeffer and Robert I. Sutton. Please change the slide. Firstly, general introduction of the Pfeffer was professor of organization behavior from Business School, California, and Robert I. Sutton was also professor of organization behavior from Stanford Engineering School. They are author of the article Knowing Doing Gap written in 1999. Firstly, the meaning of smart talk is to engage people in clever, persuasive conversation. The key idea of this article is converting ideas into action in organization rather than talking. This article tells us about organization behavior while implementing any project. We will also discuss strategies that can help to avoid the trap of smart talks. We all know that the key to success of business is action and hard work with most suitable strategy, but in most companies people are rewarded for talking if they are louder and longer and talking confusingly. uh, Now, have you ever heard about knowing doing gap? I think no. This is a phenomena of that resist growth of companies. It is a phenomena of knowing too much and doing little. People in India have ideas, plans, and we can call them jugards, but very few of them able to implement or take action rather than they talk a lot. For instance, consider two companies, uh, metal and oil company, and other was furniture company. Uh, Mirja, can you go to the previous one slide? Before that, yeah, this one. Firstly, taking metal and oil company, its sale profit share price was going down. Executive of the company knew that major changes in strategy is required. Yeah, this is the slide. Okay, I will tell you if you have to change the slide. Okay. Firstly, taking the metal and oil company, its sale profit share price was going down. Executive of the company knew that major changes in strategy is required, but they spend half their time in meetings and presentation rather taking concrete steps to come out of such vicious cycle. Other company was of furniture. They want to launch new product in market which require restructuring of organization, but no action taken and product ends in meeting. If we see today's scenario, there is no shortage of know-how as experience of people, ideas by analyzing bulk information, business book, thoughts, consultants, all are available. So no shortage. But where is the problem? Problem is on implementation part. But many companies like Generic Electric, AES Corporation, Tesla, they they have done a great job. They translate ideas into the action. We make study plan and tell our friend we read so and so arts. Are we really following it? No, one section of us follow it, but slowly it declines. This cycle continues as we lack on doing part. It should be taken care of. Please change the slide. Please change the slide. Slide. Impact of doing it. This organization to the impact of doing Sir, am I audible?
Yes.
So due to network issue, the Zoom meeting was ended. The impact of knowing doing gap. This gap brought organization to stand still. Opportunities of growth are lost. Customers move to other market, and one of the impact, which is the base of any organization, is human resource who become frustrated and leave the organization. So the problem festers at every level. Mirza, please change. Next is what causes this gap? Our mental state or the environmental sources? Yes, it is our mental state, which we can call human propensity, who is willing to talk, being lazy, who is substitute for action. T.S. Eliot, one of the great authors, said that between the conception and the creation falls the shadow. This shadow is in business is words. When we face problem, people act only as discussing it, which is like dreaming by closed eyes. So wake up and be practical. There was one company, Xerox in 1980s. Company executive decided to upgrade the quality of the product, but for the 4 years they continued talking and meeting and presentation. But when the need is required to document the best quality, they began to work after 4 years and get Malcolm Quality Award. But in such time, we can think how many growth of opportunities are missed by them. Please change the slide. Now the question arises, what kind of talk is an especially innovator of organization action? The answer is smart talk. I am sure you have people around you who are sounding confident, articulate, having good vocab, interesting, having facts, information while talking. We call them smart due to their talk. These are smart talk. They become more attractive if they are using information and talking on the facts. They make others fall into a trap. This is the smart talk trap. Robert I. Sutton rightly said that smart talk trap is a syndrome where companies hire, reward, and promote people for sounding smarter rather than making sure that things are done on the right time at the right place. Please change the slide. Next is why talks prevails. Managers are trained to do talk. They are trained from the business school. They are graded for talks. We are also graded on our class performance by being smart in the class and participating in the class. The talkative people are rewarded for talking. There is need of such people in contemporary organization. Executive decisions are also from hire to fire are on the behalf of talkative nature of the employee. So that's why talks prevails. Here there are two theories. First is manager implicit theory, and other is blabber mouth theory of leadership. Firstly, taking the manager implicit theory, this is supported by many organizations. For instance, we can take when the new manager was asked why she was given the job, she could not shut her mouth and not let anyone else saying anything. These words are said by her. She also said now they want her to talk more than before. Other theory given by Bernard Bass was a blabbermouth theory of leadership, which states that people talk more often and longer, regardless of quality of comment, and emerge as a leader of group. Please change the slide. Now, it is rightly said that people will try to sound smart, not only by being critical, but also using trendy and pretentious language. We can take the recent example of smart talk on India-China border, where de-escalation of Indian and Chinese forces from Galwan Valley takes place after having series of talks at commander level. Otherwise, clash can be there. Thank you. Now I invite Mirza to go further.
Criticism and complexity. These are the two components of smart talk. Criticism is the ability to criticize someone or point out the shortcomings, whereas complexity is the state of being complex or making it difficult to understand. These are the components that are used to tear down an idea without offering anything positive in its place. And there is a belief that complex language and ideas are somehow better than the simple ones. Being critical of others makes a person appear smarter. Take an example of a person who wrote negative book reviews were perceived as more intelligent and expert than the person who wrote positive reviews of the same book. People not only try to sound smart by criticizing, but also by using trendy and pretentious language. And it is believed that sometimes managers themselves don't know what they are talking about when they use complex language. Next, shutting the trap and closing the gap. Everybody knows that the right kind of speech can do wonders. It can motivate, inspire, and also motivate you to do smarting. But it's just that it cannot substitute the action or the doing part. Fortunately, not all organizations fall prey to knowing doing gap. Some have managed to overcome this gap. In those organizations, people say smart things and also then do them. Research suggests that the organizations that overcome this gap inherit these five characteristics. First, they have leaders who knows and do the work. They are the leaders who believe in doing the work rather than just talk. These leaders are the ones who have all knowledge about the companies working. They are mostly homegrown. If not, they make their priority to learn and do the work. For example, when the businesses are passed down to families, the owner are the ones who have all the knowledge about the companies. Second, they have a bias for plain language and simple concepts. These are the organizations which may be called boring or mundane, as they have straightforward priorities and have clear knowledge about their actions. For example, Apple has only one or two products in each product line. On the other hand, other companies have n number of products in each product line, which makes it difficult for the consumer to select one. Third, they frame questions by asking how, not just why. In these companies where the culture of criticism prevails, these organizations also allow criticism, but people cannot just ask why, but also ask how. In other words, they just not focus on fault, but also the solution. For example, after our presentation is over, Faraz sir will give our reviews. He will criticize us for our shortcomings, but also he will tell us how we can overcome them. Fourth, they have strong mechanisms that close the loop. The companies that overcome the knowing doing gap were the companies that made sure the talks didn't just end on paper, but also got implemented. Fifth, they believe that experience is the best teacher. They make the process of doing into an opportunity to learn. Sometimes they even leap into the project before they are completely sure it will work or not, just to learn from their experience. Or they launch the initiative before every last details is ironed out. For example, younger entrepreneurs, even if they're not sure about their every aspect of their initiative, but they sometimes they achieve, they become successful. But even if they don't get successful, they make sure they learn from their experience. Next, the reward of action. We have already discussed that how much business people love to talk. It's fine, but only when talks lead to an action. But when it becomes a substitute for action, the organization pay a price. We know that the talks won't do the action for us. For example, the talks won't go to a bank and do the work for us. We ourselves have to go and do the work. And when we shut down the knowing doing gap, that is when we receive the reward of action. Now ending with the conclusion, we are not arguing for an end to conversation, meetings or presentations, or that the people should stop trying to sound smart. The right kind of speech can do wonders, but it's just that it cannot be allowed to become a substitute for action. Fortunately, not all organizations are plagued by the knowing doing gap. Some have overcome it, and those are the organizations where in those companies people constantly say smart things and also then do them. Thank you.
All right, Mirza, thank you, all of you. Maybe a good round of applause for everyone who presented today. Yash, Lalit, and Mujib. So now let us try to understand the performance first. So let us start with Yash himself. So Yash, what do you think about your own performance?
Really, I fumbled a lot.
Your voice, Yash, audible.
So I think I fumbled a lot in between. I fumbled a lot in between.
Humbled. Okay.
And secondly, the rate of speech is something that I need to work upon a lot. Sometimes I speak way too fast. That's what I think. And I need to work upon the language.
All right. So yes, there were a few things which you could learn. Obviously, everyone needs improvement. Let us now ask others what do they think. Any suggestions or anything which they could advise Yash as a friend, as classmates. So, what do you think? What do you remember from Yash? What his presentation? What do you remember? So, anyone who wants to give feedback to Yash? Okay, so let me. Yes, yes. Want to say something, Varis?
Yes, actually, sir, I want to praise Yash that maybe he could not prepare because his partner was in, and he was little nervous, but he worked it out through it. And the presentation was content rich, as you can see the slides. It was content rich, and there was little lack of we could use the illustration in the picture, but overall it was really good.
What I not get the last point.
I said, sir, it was good presentation. He worked through it alone. So he could not practice it because of his partner was there, but he worked through it.
Yeah, I think this is a question which is coming up again and again, that my partner is sometimes something happens to the partner, or someone is ill, or someone by choice is not responding, or by choice wants to forego this presentation. Now, obviously, we cannot help it. There are things which are beyond our control. One is that obviously the health is beyond our control. Someone is getting ill, but we don't move backwards. We move forward, and it is good to see this attitude that people, and if for that matter, for other presenters also, I'm saying this very loud and clear. If at any stage in your this journey, your partner is not able to present it. Now, this excuse, I will not accept it at this level, at the level of masters of MBA, because you are supposed to go and work in a business environment, and where these are, and in fact, this is how we humans are made of. We step in to fill the shoes of others, and if there is someone who is ill, or who because of anything is not able to do that, and this is what makes a good manager, or what makes a good leader. Okay, so do not lose this opportunity. If you get an opportunity, even if there are circumstances in which there seems it seems a bit tough, so I think you should step up. And this, always remember that when you step up, it also gives an opportunity for others to recognize you. And these are times where basically your character is displayed. Okay, there are very few opportunities in life, in the workplace and all, where you get an opportunity to display your character. Okay, and it gets obviously it gets displayed if you are a good character in that sense. So please do not make it as an excuse for not performing, or avoiding, or procrastinating anything. So take it as an opportunity to learn, and to basically fill in and help others. That's what and that's that you are the man. So you remember that in any organization they're called Man Friday, and in every organization where there's any issue, and the person may not be higher up in the hierarchy, but the person is called to manage the crisis, and the crisis managers are always very well paid, as well as very well respected in the organizations. So make these as an opportunity. So I congratulate Yash on that account that despite his partner, he had informed me yesterday that he was ill, and he also told that he will try that if he could make if he can make it for the presentation, he will try it. But I think unfortunately he is not that well. So we wish him get well soon, and we hope that he comes back quickly. And so, but Yash did. Apart from his performance, this is one of his good quality which he displayed today. That he stepped in and he never mentioned it. Okay, so this is one part, and that's a good thing of your character. Yash. However, if we come to the performance, I'll come to the other two presenters in a bit. Let us talk about Yash his own performance. So. What I found overall, I think, yes, you have noted down some of the points yourself, and it's a very good self introspection which a person can do for himself. What I found that they were in some of the slides, I found too much text, and where you could have avoided text. See, again and again, we are mentioning this, that PowerPoint is a tool. Okay, so use it only for, say, you are some pointers or some keywords or some key phrases or some visuals. So because it gives you an opportunity to use visuals. Now, if you say, for example, you are explaining it on a board or a white paper or a whiteboard or say flip chart, it's very difficult for you to explain through visuals. Now, this tool gives you an opportunity to use visuals. Okay, so do not miss this opportunity instead of using too much text, because you are already speaking. And you are speaking, and you have a script with you, and you have prepared a script. So do not repeat that script on the and reading from that script is a very bad idea, and I would not advise anyone to do it. But yes, initially sometimes we feel nervous, and so we want to put everything on the slide. So there is like slide becomes our backup. But avoid this strategy. This does not work. It does not look good. Okay. And especially in the business presentations, if you have internalized the idea, which I found in your presentation that you had internalized the idea, you knew about your topic, telling tales, you were talking about storytelling, you had understood the idea completely. So then maybe you could have just used the phrases, and with some examples, you can have just some visuals also could have helped you in that. So one thing is this, a bit of enthusiasm when you are presenting. A bit of energy, I would say, can make the difference. So yes, there is an element of nervousness, but once you start practicing, I think you can overcome that. And when you show enthusiasm in front of the audience also becomes attentive. Okay, they are glued to you. So, and that's what you want in any business organization, and when you're giving presentation in a class. You are giving a speech or anything, you want everyone to glue their eyes to you. That's what you want. Okay, so keep it up and improve on these aspects. Hopefully you will. So next we have Lalit. Lalit, can you just shed light on your own performance?
Sir, somewhere I am satisfied with my performance, but some improvements are required, like pronunciation of some words, and it can be more interactive. And there was network issue also, so the slides were not changing according to I was speaking. That's the issues with me.
Okay. Yes, there were some issues related to the network and all. Okay, so any feedback for Yash, for Lalit? From anyone who wants to help Lalit? Okay, so I think everyone is very happy with Lalit for his performance, or is very sad with Lalit's performance. So you never know. When people are silent, you can make out there can be two reasons for that. I'll leave it. Lalit, one thing which I noted in the whole presentation in your and Mr. that there was like, I don't know whether you practiced it or not, but the coordination issue was there. in terms of slides and what the other person is saying. And so that was one issue. And it was very obvious. It happened a couple of times. So it became obvious also. Okay. So you people have not, I don't think that you have practiced together a lot. So that was it. Again, I found that you tried to create some interesting slides. You tried to bring in some visuals and tried to make it interesting. But again, when you are making it interesting with visuals, so you don't use so much text. So either any kind of, say what happens with text, even if you are putting it in boxes, it doesn't matter. Because once the text is there, we have a tendency to read that text. And now what happens that because our attention is already getting weaker and weaker. So our attention is now focused on the text instead of you. Okay. Instead of so that is one thing which you need to improve on that account, that when you are creating slides, you have to design the slides. Okay. And copying from the article as it is, the language is not a good way to do it, because these articles are not those like very simple articles where you take a sentence and do it, because it will be a very long sentence, obviously, if you are doing it. So yes.
So some points were important, and I like them.
You should use keywords, the headings, the keywords. They are important, sure. But the whole sentences and all, like content and like that is, I would say that you can avoid those things if you can. Then let us come to Mirza. Mirza Mujib, let us hear from you.
Yes, sir. Sir, I believe public speaking is not my forte. I tend to get very nervous. And at the start of the presentation, I don't know why the slides were lagging. I had to move it twice, but they were lagging between. That is why the glitch happened.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry little late for that. It's that we prepared for it, but I don't know what happened. I had to move it twice to get to the slide, and every time it gets here and there.
Okay. So any suggestions for Mujib? I guess nobody is in the mood to give any suggestion. So let me give them. One is what you said is about your that public speaking is not your forte. See, it looks, but I don't see that you are speaking in front of public. Everyone has switched off their camera. Nobody is watching you. Nobody is so. It's just the screen. 2-3 people are there.
That is there in the back of my head.
Yeah. So that's what you have to get out of your head. Okay. So the more natural you become, the more natural conversations you do. Actually, this basically removes that kind of inhibition when we are in these kind of settings. And the more you do it, the more natural you will become in that. Now, what I noticed in your, especially that as soon as Lalit ended, you started reading a slide. Okay, so the transition was not smooth. The transition was very abrupt, and you did not thank Lalit also. I noticed that also. So you should have said that, okay, thank you, Lalit. Lalit has covered this part. I'm going to cover that part. Okay, so this is how you, and you again, because transitioning is also an opportunity to bring back the audience. It breaks the monotony of the content, and it again is a chance to basically bring back the audience to you. So use it as an opportunity. So once, say, one person is shifting, so you transition, you can use it as an opportunity. Then obviously the slides part, your slides part was more text, much more text heavy than even what Lalit's part was there. So I think that is one thing which you need to clearly improve upon, that creating good slides. So I would advise both of you to and all of you, in fact, to just look at some of the good presentations. Okay, you go out there and look at presentations where you talk about. Even if you type good presentations, and you will find that there are a lot of good presentations on Google and all of presenters like Steve Jobs, and not just Steve Jobs, but even a lot of other people. So you will find a lot of good presentations. Okay, so how to use text? How do you reduce the text and all these things? So maybe visuals can help you on that account. Okay. Then the second thing is obviously reading from the slide is like you should avoid, Mirza. Okay. You can try like using cue cards for the pointers. Okay. And once you start practicing it, you can avoid this reading from the slide because it looks very bad. And you can improve upon that. I think once you start practicing. These things do not. This is a kind of a craft. Please understand this. So, giving in front of public, coming in front of public, speaking in front of public. So, it's kind of a craft. So, you develop your own methodology to navigate this kind of nervousness and all these things. Okay, so you have your own set of tools you develop over a period of time, and you have seen a potter how he makes the pottery, and also everyone has his own style basically. And with practice, they develop their own shortcuts. They develop their own things. Okay, so you will also develop it. But again, if you start avoiding it, you will not do it. You will not be able to get into it. And there is no shying away from that. And as you have seen that in the content also, I've not come to the content. The smart talk trap. So it has some lessons for you as a managers, because you should not get into that smart talk trap. But the reality is, in business world, if you are not good talker, the chances are that you will get avoided and you will not get noticed. So I'm not saying that start doing a smart talk, but at least start talking. Talk smartly. Okay. So learn to talk smartly. I think, and that will help you in the long run. Okay. So we come to the end of the feedback, and very few points. I think we've already crossed the time, but very few points regarding the articles. These two articles are very powerful articles. Telling Tales is a wonderful article where Deming talks about storytelling, the art of storytelling. And in fact, if you look at today's world, if you look at all the marketing in the world, it is driven by storytelling. Good marketing is driven by storytelling. Look at any kind of company today. The best of the marketers in the world use storytelling to their advantage. One is this: outside communication from the company to the outside world. That is where storytelling is used. But also, great leaders are using storytelling to motivate inside, to channelize the energies of people inside. Okay, so there are a lot of examples Yash gave. Say, for example, companies. If you look at even IT companies, we see, you go to website of Infosys or big IT company Accenture, you'll find case studies. These are stories of how Infosys helped, say, for example, with one IT solution, a client, say, for example, okay, in how Infosys basically transformed, say, for example, General Motors through their technologies and all. So they're talking about in terms of narratives. So they create different kind of narratives for motivating employees, large organizations, for even building a corporate image. Today, corporate image is very important. Tatas do it all the time. Okay, there are corporate writers who write books on the leaders of Tata, like J.R.D. Tata and Ratan Tata. They're larger than life figures. How they become larger than life? Okay, you see an example of Bill Gates. Bill Gates does it all the time. He has created a brand of himself, and sometimes I feel that he's a bit jealous of Steve Jobs also. But even if there are books written about Bill Gates, and there are a lot of things which there are documentaries made on Bill Gates. Okay, all this is storytelling. So the nature of advertising, the nature of marketing, the nature of motivation keeps on changing, because stories are very, very powerful, and they get an impression in our mind, and we take them, remember them for a very, very long time. Okay, so that's a power, but again, that power has to be used judiciously, like what Yash also explained. that there is a minimalist approach and there is a maximalist approach. Maximalist approach talks about you cannot get into the like again J.K. Rowling style of storytelling, okay, where you create a fantasy world and you do all of these things, and because it's a novelist kind of way of doing things, you cannot you कहते हैं ना समा बांधना, so you cannot इतना आप समा नहीं बांध सकते business में कि that train gets missed, okay, so then you have to basically adopt a minimalist style, but you have to basically also convey what your message is. So storytelling is a very good. The second article is about smart talk, and talk about Lalit has very beautifully explained it in the initial slides also what a smart talk is. And we all know that in business world, talkative people and people who are very critical, who talk very smartly, they are assumed to be or they are perceived as intelligent, and sometimes it's not the case. So like I said, that you have to basically find the real substance in people, and this only you can develop once you are in business world and you get to interact with a lot of people, and then you can differentiate. And a lot of people have developed their strategies. Good business leaders have developed strategies where they can make out whether the person is a smart talker or a real doer of things. So they get to the questions of why and how to do these things and all. And they will ask people to do certain things. If someone is coming up with a nice idea and only talking about that idea, why not you go and come and show me? So that's why today the techniques in the to avoid these kind of things, there are techniques like design thinking today. We talk about lean approach. I think yesterday when we were talking about in the ESD class, lean approach. Build something, build an MVP, minimum viable product. Okay, do not talk about all of these things. Okay, talking is fine to explain, yes, but do something and show it to us, and then only move ahead. So customers are also getting smarter, managers are also getting smarter in this. This is a world where demonstrable skills, where you can demonstrate your skills, is very important. So now CVs are becoming less important, and what is more important are your projects. Sometimes people in good, like I see that very active students today create web pages, their own web pages, like a CV, where they also put up their live projects, what they are doing. Say, for example, there's a website which they are managing, there is Facebook page they are managing. So they give the links and all description of what exactly they are doing. So they demonstrate what they are doing. So to avoid this smart talk trap, okay, for all. So this is the world is changing. So the content is the king today in marketing and all. So that's why storytelling is very important. And the second today, the key message here is about the avoiding the smart talk trap and understanding that what is a smart talk and what is the real difference between a smart talker and an action oriented person. So these are the two key messages today we have. So I guess if there is any comment, any doubt, anything related to today's discussion. All right, then. So we thank you for your. Now I request the reporters for providing a summary on the WhatsApp of today's session, and then maybe in the next class when we meet, so we may ask any of the reporters to just give a summary when we start the next week. Okay. So I guess let us call it a day.